Okay, folks, welcome to the second episode of Behind the Brand. Thank you so much for being here. We're honored to have you. My name is Ahna Hendricks, and I'm the CEO of Arch Digital Agency, a full-service social media marketing agency specializing in the health and wellness industries. If you'd like to find out more about us, you can check us out online at archdigitalagency.com. But in addition to managing an agency, one of my greatest loves in life are the personal story. From growing up watching actor studios to reading memoirs, biographies, I am obsessed with the personal journey. I'm so inspired by the stories of normal people who did something extraordinary. But what fascinates me most isn't the pinnacle, but the climb. On B2B, we get to know people who have managed to take a typical life and turn it into a spectacular one. We'll be discussing the trials and successes, the quirks that make them who they are, and how they continue to grow as individuals. First, I want to introduce my co-host and community manager, Mr. KP Kelly. He is a Twitter marketing specialist at Arch. And thank you so much, Kevin, for all that you do. Today, I'm pleased to introduce my first guest in the series, Chris Reynolds. We'll be discussing traveling the world while making a difference. I'm just going to read you his bio before we jump in. Chris Reynolds is the founder of the entrepreneurhouse.com. He's been traveling the world and building online businesses for nearly 5 years. The Entrepreneur House brings online entrepreneurs, lots of entrepreneurs, together in some of the world's most exotic cities to build their businesses together. This year, the Entrepreneur House will be in Rio de Janeiro, Barcelona, Tokyo, and Chiang Mai. During his travels, Chris also created 3 sustainable charity projects. The projects include rescuing slave children in Ghana, building a sustainable farm for malnourished children in Peru, and building a swimming pool for children with developmental disabilities in Costa Rica. Thank you so much for being here, Chris.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to have you as my first guest.
I'm very honored. I'm very, very honored.
Okay, so before we jump into this show, kind of as an icebreaker, this is the new segment called On Asks. This is where the audience asks a random question. So go ahead and submit your questions, and I will choose one and we'll answer it. So I'm going to get my timer ready, and if we don't have one, I'm going to use the one I came up with for today. Everyone will have 1 minute to answer. What's your favorite ice cream? Okay, we're going to go with Shannon's. Sorry, Shane. All right, Kevin. Actually, we're going to go with our guest first because that would be polite. Chris, you have 1 minute. What kind of ice cream is your favorite and why?
I would say vanilla dipped in chocolate, and probably because my mom loved them and we used to go through the drive-thru at McDonald's all the time and get them, and she fed quite a few of them to me as a young boy, and they have stuck to me.
Dipped cones, they're amazing.
Yeah, they are.
Have you ever had the butterscotch ones?
No, I don't think I have, but that sounds good.
Yeah, Dairy Queen does them.
Yeah.
That's a good answer. Okay. All right. Okay, Kevin, your turn.
I like almost every ice cream flavor as long as I can eat it in mass quantities. That's the main thing. But I like Cold Stone Creamery. I don't know if you all have that around you, but I have 2 of them within a mile of me, so it's very dangerous. And I like to get the coffee flavored ice cream with chocolate shavings. And like a giant thing of it.
Now you're talking.
But I don't like when I go to Cold Stone sometimes because they sing to you when you come in. Then they sing to you if you tip them, and they sing to you when you're leaving, which just delays me getting the ice cream in my belly. But I appreciate that there's ice cream.
Yeah. You're always about the large amounts. It's just like, give me the food.
Yeah.
Shannon's like, what? All right, good answer.
If you
They've never
continue
sung
to
to me when
giggle
I've walked in
uncontrollably.
before. Do what?
If you continue to giggle uncontrollably, I mean,
Sorry. Happens when I get excited. Okay. Uh, my favorite ice cream is mint chocolate chip. Always and forever. And always and forever. Yeah, I had like a little momentary, like, cheating on it a little bit with some like cookie dough. Um, I think it was cookie dough. Maybe some like moose tracks, actually. Oh, wait, no, it was like chocolate ice cream with peanut butter.
Ooh.
That's another killer. It just that could be the end of me. But
It's easy to cheat on your favorite ice cream with cookie dough, though.
yeah, cookie dough. I always get like I like getting the packages now, the gluten-free ones.
Mm-hmm.
Like the pre-made things, and they're like, "Don't eat it." I'm like, okay.
I do the same thing.
Whatever you say.
Yeah.
Shannon says, not cheating, just exploring other options. Fair enough.
That's one way to look at it, Shannon.
To each their own. Okay. So let's go ahead and since we're still early in the show, let's just do Jean's question as well. Mm-hmm. What is your favorite social media platform and why? 1 minute, Chris, go ahead.
By far Facebook, because it pretty much does everything and everybody's on it. And if you just use Facebook, for me personally, if you use Facebook and focus on Facebook, you can become a master of Facebook, and it does, everything that you really need to do, I believe. I really like Instagram, although I don't use it that much, but because I like it just because it's very simple and it catches those real special moments, I think, of people, and they keep it real smooth and clean. And I'm a big fan of Instagram too, but Facebook definitely number one.
It's going to be Snapchat before long. Just telling you.
We'll see if you can convert me, Anna.
Okay, Kevin, your turn. 1 minute.
Is Sean in the room? Because if he is, I'm going to say Blab.
He was.
Okay.
I don't know if he still is.
For me, I mean, you can probably guess it's Twitter. Twitter is what I spend the most time and most of my focus on, and kind of use to be my proof of concept, if you will, as a social media marketer. But when you talk about favorite, that's kind of an interesting word. So kind of along with Chris, Instagram may have somewhat become more of my favorite. I don't use it as much in terms of business, not as effective for me and a smaller audience, but I find Instagram to be kind of fun, and maybe for the simplicity of just, looking at pictures and all that. But Instagram's kind of a little more fun, but got to go with Twitter. What about you, Anna?
Okay. Well, it's going to be a major surprise here for everybody.
MySpace?
Snapchat is... Oh, I used to love MySpace so much.
Friendster.
Oh, love MySpace. I could make my page all pretty and put songs on it. Oh, I loved it. Okay. So definitely Snapchat right now. I'm just having a blast on Snapchat, connecting with some incredible people of all kinds of different like backgrounds and ages. And I love how raw Snapchat is. I love that it's like just momentary. It's quick. It's easy to do. I think like with Instagram, I'm always feeling like I need to package something in a pretty form before putting it there, because it's like there forever. In addition, I am 100% unabashedly myself on Snapchat, and I don't do that anywhere else. I'm going to brush my teeth. I'm going to be like acting like an idiot. I'm going to just have fun with it. So, but it's actually for work has become a huge, huge resource. So I'm very much enjoying it. And I'm converting you, Chris. Just you wait.
Okay.
Don't let her get to you, okay. Chris. Stay strong, man.
Kevin tried to for a while as well, but it's happening. He had a really good story yesterday on his cat that we should see more of those. Okay, well, let's jump into the show. I feel like everybody's loose and ready to go, right? Yeah?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, awesome. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about what Chris is currently doing, just to introduce him to you all. And then we're actually going to jump back in time. So, Chris, why don't you start off by talking to us about the Entrepreneur House and what it is you're doing with it right now?
Okay, so my baby right now is called the Entrepreneur House, theentrepreneurhouse.com. And what I do is set up co-living, co-working arrangements for online entrepreneurs all over the world. Barcelona, Chiang Mai. This year we're going to Rio de Janeiro, Tokyo, and back to Barcelona and Chiang Mai. And we usually have about 12 to 15 people. And we do a co-living situation where we either get apartments or housing very close to each other, if not all in one spot. And we do weekly masterminding. We set up goals, personal and business goals. We help each other, grow our business, help each other with our marketing, help each other with every aspect of our business to just excel and catapult each other's businesses together. So in a sense, we're like 12 to 15 people working to help each one of us out to grow our businesses in however amount of time that we're staying together. And so far it's worked out great. We love, we bond really well. We almost become like a family because we're exploring, and it's like us against this new city that we're exploring together. We'll have like weekly beach days in Barcelona. We'll go rock climbing. We went cave exploring in Chiang Mai. We rode dirt bikes off into the jungle in Chiang Mai. We, what else? All kinds of things, Spanish lessons, Thai lessons, Thai cooking lessons, trying new food together. And so it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of high impact growth, business and personal growth at the same time. And it's just an incredible experience. And that's what we're doing.
Nice. So I thought we had an interesting question. Shannon asked, do you videotape any of this like the real world? It sounds fascinating.
So one of the guys that stayed in our house was on the French version of The Apprentice. And he was actually trying to get them to come into the house and do some video, but wasn't able to. But no, yeah, we do some videotaping. I've seen some other platforms with online entrepreneurs that kind of did like an internet real world for online entrepreneur type of thing, and nothing that professional. Because in a sense, that's another job. So we would have to hire somebody out and a professional crew, I think, to come and do that. And really, we're the guys that come in. They're so focused on their business. They want to grow it, but also it's hard sometimes to get them away from their computers. It's like, okay, guys, let's go to lunch or let's go out and go have fun. And they're like, oh, we just want to work on it. And so we have to like schedule time out so we can, everybody can get away, and go have some fun at the same time.
That sounds like everyday life.
There would, yeah.
For entrepreneurs who work at home.
Right. There would be a lot of this.
To take time outs.
Yeah, there would be a lot of people on their computers, video footage of people on their computers if we did that.
So we had a question from Andy about how he could get involved.
Oh, just Andy, go to theentrepreneurhouse.com and send some information through the contact page.
Yep. And Kevin shared that website.
Thanks,
again.
Kevin.
It's theentrepreneurhouse.com.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So let's go ahead and jump back because, like I said, I think that what's so interesting about what people have done with their lives is kind of where they came from. So, besides this really cool entrepreneur house that you're currently working on, you've done all of this charity work. You built a swimming pool for developmental disabilities in Costa Rica, helped build a sustainable farm for malnourished children. um, you know, helped rescue slave children in Ghana. But you're like a farm boy. You grew up on a farm. What was that like?
Well,
in Missouri? So tell us what that was like.
yeah, so my mom's family are farm boys. So I didn't grow up or farmers. I didn't grow up on a farm, but I spent a lot of my time growing up or around farms. So kind of like half and half farm boy. Anyway,
Okay.
yeah. So there's a lot. There's a lot between then and now. Yeah. So I grew up in Missouri. I actually wanted to be a farmer growing up. Because all my uncles and all the people I looked up to were farmers, and it was just the thing to do. Like in this part of the world, it's like the American dream is to get a John Deere tractor and some land and start plowing, and so that's what I wanted to do until I entered grad school and I studied business, and I started to study like global economics, international business, geopolitics, and all this stuff that I didn't even know existed. And it really opened my horizons. So my thought process after grad school was, hey, I could always come back to Missouri and be a farmer. Let's go see what the world has to offer. And then I started reading kind of personal development books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I read all those series, the whole series of that. Think and Grow Rich, The 4-Hour Work Week, some of Don Miguel Ruiz books. And working with personal development, I started working with personal development companies that helped me like even grow my vision of myself and what one person could do to have an influence on this world even more and more. And so after grad school, I went into the mortgage business for about a year and a half. And then I started my own business in Phoenix in the real estate market. And this was like 2006, 2007 when the boom was happening. And in 2008, so I had the business. The first year did really well. Second year then absolutely tanked because it's 2008, 2009 housing crash. And completely went broke. Like lost my car, couldn't pay rent, and I had to figure out solutions to what to do. But there was still like a voice in the back of my head that told me, keep pushing, keep going, don't give up, because one day you're going to be in a position where you can help people and learn from this experience. And so I just kept going and going, and I came across the book during that time, The 4-Hour Work Week, which talks about being location independent, making money online, and living anywhere in the world. And when I read it, I loved it so much. I read it a second time and a third time, and I got the audio and I listened to it like at least a dozen times, and I just soaked it up and I applied exactly what it said. I started building websites, niche websites online in 2009. And by 2011, I was in a position where me and my girlfriend at the time, we could move to Costa Rica. So we bought 2 one-way tickets to Costa Rica. We got a nice little house on the beach, and we had, we're a 5-minute walk from the beach, a 2-bedroom house. We had like kind of the dream life. We had monkeys swinging in our yard in the morning when we woke up. And when we were there, a good friend of mine took me to visit a clinic that was run by nuns in Costa Rica and in San Jose, in the capital. And so the clinic was run by nuns. It was all volunteer, and there was 18 children with developmental disabilities that kind of just live in a vegetative state. They just kind of have the nuns to have to get them up and out of their beds and help them exercise. And we asked them when we were there, like, what was your biggest need? And they told us their biggest need was a swimming pool. And we're like, okay, how much does a swimming pool cost? And they said, well, it's $4,000. And we said, okay. And me and my friend kind of looked at each other, because it's pretty cheap for a swimming pool, we thought. And we're like, okay, let's brainstorm some projects we can do to raise that $4,000, have some fun, and go give the money to the kids. So we're like, let's get our friends from the States. We'll put the project up on social media and blast it out through our warm market. Let's bring our friends from the States, climb the tallest mountain in Costa Rica, and see if we can raise the money. And so we did, and we raised the money, and we gave the money to the kids so they could build their swimming pool. And so that was Costa Rica. And then we did further projects. I feel like I'm talking the whole time. Anybody wants to interject?
Yeah, let's break it down. Let's break it down.
Yeah.
So first I want to know, where did this want to help back, to help give back come from? Is this something that was like, I mean, did this come because you went through this hard time when you lost everything with the real estate market? Because you mentioned that. Or is it just a part of who you are?
I think a couple things that really come to mind. I think it's a part of who I am, but also like I was in Boy Scouts growing up, and one of our mottos in Boy Scouts was to give back more than was given to you. And so it was really, we had a really good troop, and we stayed through Boy Scouts through high school and even part of college.
Wow.
And some of my really good best friends are still, were involved. And so that and I had good mentors in Scouts too. And so that mentality, like we were always doing charity projects with Scouts. We were always doing helping up the other Scouts. We were taught like, okay, if there's a old lady walking across the street with her groceries, you help her across the street. That's kind of the things that I was learning growing up. And so that really stuck with me. And also inherently, I think deep down inside, I always knew that I would do some really cool, big charity projects when I got older. I didn't know what it was. And I knew too that it was just something that I was good at. Like I was good at fundraising. I was good at helping people, and it really inspired me. And that's where it comes from, I would say.
Nice. Okay. So in terms of like coming across, where did you get the skills to put together, a project to actually raise money, to put together a campaign that would do that? How did you come into all the, the know-how of like setting it up and where to raise money and those sorts of things?
I think the bottom line, the skills came from setting the goal and being completely committed to making that goal happen. And that is the foundation. If you want to do something like this or anything big in your life, even Richard Branson says the same thing. You set a goal, and you set a time period for that goal, then you break it down to months and then weeks and then days and then little steps that you can do every single day. It doesn't matter if you want to feed all the starving children in the world. It doesn't matter if you just want to get a new job. You have to set that goal and break it down and start having daily action steps. That is the foundation. And really, if you do that, you'll be amazed with what you can accomplish. And people all the time, for me, it doesn't feel like that I've done a lot with these. It doesn't feel like these are huge, massive tasks that they did at the time. They felt like massively big, and I didn't know if I was going to accomplish them or not. But now that I've done them, it wasn't as hard as I imagined it would be. It wasn't as scary as I imagined it'd be, and everything came together because I was just taking those action steps, and everybody started to come together to help because they wanted to be a part of something cool and something big and something amazing.
Well, you referenced Richard Branson, mm-hmm. and I know that you're, obviously a lover of learning, that you acquired at some point, during school, during college, and you started reading all of these books. How was it that you started picking up these books to read about, online businesses, about Rich Dad, Poor Dad? How did that happen?
My mom, we'll go back to my mom. My mom gave me Rich Dad, Poor Dad when I was in grad school. And she said, it's easy. It's an easy read. Just read it. And so I read it, and it really and it was summertime, so I didn't have a lot going on. But it just kind of expanded my mind, and it was like, whoa, there's a different way of thinking out there. And it just kind of sucked me in at the same time. So I read almost all the books in the Rich Dad series, and his mentality kind of started to change my mentality. And then it was like an avalanche after that. It was like, okay, somehow I came across Think and Grow Rich. Somehow I came across all these others because I was talking to people that were reading books like this, and they were referring them to me. And then I got involved with, working with a personal development company, and they were reading all the books, and so it even helped more so.
I wanted to ask you this earlier, but I didn't want to interrupt you about this personal developmental company. I'm really curious about what that is.
The company I worked with, actually worked with, but I didn't work with them other than volunteering. But it's called SCI Seminars, Personal Success Institute, and they're mainly on the west coast of California. And they have numerous classes that you can take. And they take the basic class, which is like a weekend, and they break down, what you really want in life, the goals that you can set, and also they dig deep into like what's really stopping you from achieving those goals. And they also work as a community, as a group of people who are like, okay, let's you want these goals, let's work together and see how we can help each other get our goals. So because they have a community, my friends started to be my personal and good friends started to be a part of the group. And so I was hanging around people that were reading personal development, that were practicing setting really huge goals in their life, starting new businesses, traveling the world, and then it rubs off. You'll become, like anybody says, you'll become like the top 5 people you spend your time around, and it's extremely important. And also why I set up the Entrepreneur House, because we have all these entrepreneurs that are traveling the world, they're landing in the city all by themselves, and they miss camaraderie. And so we get these houses in these different cities around the world, and we get to hang out with like-minded people, talk our talk, and build our businesses together.
I so want to come. I'm just going to get more and more pumped up about this the longer we talk about it.
Barcelona this year, Anna, you're coming.
Barcelona. Okay, so we had this great question from Shannon. She says, sounds like you had fear and still took risks anyway. Who are your go-to people for support and encouragement? Ooh. Great question.
I have a group of people that I call my entourage. They're like people that I consider they like me for some reason, but I consider them better than me. Like they're more successful than me, or there's something about something that they have done or who they are as people that I really admire, and I consider them like up here compared to where I am. And so anytime I need support, or that I'm scared, or just need somebody to talk to, like I'll call them up. And I have Paul, I have Manny, I have Chanel, and I'll call them up and I'll just ask them, this is what I'm going through, this is what I'm going through. And I don't do that a lot, because I think as long as you're taking those daily action steps, for me anyway, as long as I'm taking those daily action steps, like I can see progress and I can see things happening. But there's always time when, like for example, I've had times in my life where my income was like wiped out. 80% of my income was wiped out, and so like I got to call my guys or my friends that can help me through that process. And you always have to have a team. Again, back to like birds of the feather flock together, top 5 people that you spend your time around. You got to have that core nucleus of people to grow, and they have to be growing too and willing to support you. And any stupid thing you say, even if you want to cure Alzheimer's, and you say you want to do that, you have to have people that are like, whatever. You have to have people that can totally support you for that, no matter how crazy it sounds. I have a friend. He wants to be he wants to be the #1 rodeo clown on the planet. And most people would be like, come on, that's crazy. You can't be a rodeo clown. That's ridiculous. And actually, but we're working together so he can actually achieve that. And he just had his first professional rodeo this past weekend. So there you go.
You should actually type that link in for that guy into the chat box for folks.
I want to get the clown on the show.
Oh, we can do that. Totally.
That would actually be a very interesting story, no doubt. So it's imaginerodeo.com for those who will be listening on podcast. You can find him there. So Chris, you have this, this squad, this entourage. I want to ask you, I know that in terms of my business and where I've been at, typically when my income is wiped out by 80% or it slides way down, I think it's a very like, it puts you in a very vulnerable place, you know, and to reach out to someone and say, hey, I'm like, you know, I've lost all of my money or my income stream, help me. I feel like that's a really key relationship. Like, how is it that you have, you know, is it someone that you've really respect or someone that you've known for a long time, or you know what I mean? Like, it puts you in a very vulnerable place.
Both. You definitely have to have respect for the person, but you also need to know that, like, if you also need to be that person. So if your friends are ever in that situation, you're there for them, right? You're like,
Yeah.
okay, Anna, your income's wiped out by 80%, or what are we gonna do? Who cares? So what? I've been there too. I've been broke. I've been wiped out before. So what's our next step to get back to where you want to be, or even farther? And you know, a lot of times, like when we reach the bottom of the barrel, like pure hell motivates, it inspires us to do more, and it gives us a bunch of passion to even go farther than we would go normally. Gets us out of our comfort zone. So like one of the guys that was in the house, while he was staying in the house, he was running 4 businesses, and his main business, his income completely got wiped out. And he got a message from his supplier, said, we're no longer going to send you books and the stuff that he was selling. He goes, you're done. And so he was depressed. You know, he had 2 days where he had to like get out and get away from everybody. And then on the 3rd day, we sat down with him and we had a mastermind. We're like, okay, Nathan, like, here's the deal. You're wiped out, but what can you do to make that money back? He was pulling in $10,000 a month online. And then we wrote down some steps on how he could work that, find new suppliers to make it work. Within 2 weeks, he had that money coming back and even more. He was making more than $10,000 a month. It just took him 2 weeks. But he had that group. He said, he's like, you know, I probably could have recreated this, not being in the house, you know, and not having you guys around me. But I don't know if I could have, because you guys were around me. It just, you know, what happened 2 weeks. You know,
Well, and mental wise too. I mean, like, you know, what kind of I know what kind of crash I go through if like I lose a client or something like that, regardless of how out of my hands it is. You know, it's like the supplier stopped, you know, like we're not selling this anymore. So then it still is just like, oh. Yeah. So you're not just dealing with the fact that you're not making money anymore, but like having to, you know, deal with like the mental side of it. Like okay, A, this is not personal. B, what's my next step? How can I start making a solution? So for you, what's been the hardest crash in your journey, and how have you gotten through it?
The hardest was after my first business. I was selling real estate investing education, and my first year I did really well. And I was working, you know, I had a group of partners that I was working with, and I kind of, you know, I think my ego was getting big. You know, it was like my first business. I was doing well. I bought a sports car. You know, I had this cool apartment in Scottsdale, Arizona. And then like the housing crisis happened and wiped out like our business completely. And it literally, like I lost my car. Like I could barely pay rent. I had to donate plasma to buy food. So, and I was eating like there was a while I was eating like can of corn and can of green beans for dinner, or like eating Wheaties with water in it at one time. I remember I was talking to my dad on the phone, and he was like, "What are you eating?" And it was breakfast. It's like, "What are you eating?" And I said, "Oh, I'm having Wheaties." And he goes, "With milk or water?" And I said, "With water." And he goes, "Damn, you are broke, aren't you?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm kind of broke." And it was really hard. You know, it was stressful. I didn't know what was happening, but there was just an inherent feeling deep down inside me that said, just keep going. You know, you're going to pull out of this, and you're going to help people because you grew from this part of your life.
Well, you have definitely given back. So let's jump in now to, after helping out raise the money for the pool, where did you go from there? I think Peru was the next stop for you, right?
Yeah. So me and my group of friends that we did the pool project with in Costa Rica. I was moving to Peru, and they said, "Hey, let's do a project in Peru. That sounds fun." And so I literally, right when we arrived to Peru, we hiked the Inca Trail, and we asked our guide to Machu Picchu, and we asked our guide what's the biggest need in Peru. And he said, well, the biggest need is the children are malnourished. So there's a lot of people doing projects where they're building greenhouses for these villages around the Amazon and the Andes. So these kids can use these greenhouses as classrooms, grow their own food, but also feed themselves from that. And so, and it just happened to be that his brother had two charity projects going on, doing the building a farm and building greenhouses. And so I went to visit one of the villages that had a greenhouse, and there was 15 children in the school, and they had actually two greenhouses. And within a year's time, from building their greenhouse to 12 months later, they went from being extremely malnourished to very healthy and the best soccer team in the mountainous area because they had so much energy. And her teacher was like, before they were sluggish, they would walk an hour to school through the mountains, sometimes with their babies, the baby sibling on their back and going through the elements. And it's, high, you're talking like 10,000, 12,000, 14,000 feet elevation. So this is extremely high. And these kids, they were sluggish in school. They didn't want to learn. And so they had a nutritionist come in and take their levels, their levels and how healthy they were, and extremely malnourished. And then so they built a greenhouse. The kids used it. They had a gardener take care of it, and the kids used it as a classroom. And at first they were scared of the new food, like they would throw the vegetables underneath the table at lunch because they didn't know what it was. And then after a while, they started eating it and eating it. And within 12 months' time, it just absolutely changed the lives of these children. Not to mention, they're also learning how to grow products and use a greenhouse that their families have never seen before, and they didn't know really even existed. And so they're using this as a classroom to make a sustainable project and affect their lives and their families' lives for years to come. So this guy, there was another village with about 60 children, and this guy had a bunch of land. And he said, we need to raise some money up so we can bring an aqueduct down from the glacier at the top of the mountain down to the farm so it could provide water for the farm and the greenhouse. And then we'll build the farm in the greenhouse. And so I was like, okay, we'll put it up on social media. We'll get a group of people from the States and Europe. We'll bring them down here. We'll break the ground. We'll homestead the land with the families of the children, and then we'll start the project. And so we did it. We gave ourselves 90 days to raise the money. We raised the money. We went down and we built the farm, or worked on the farm for 4 days, and then we went off and went to Machu Picchu and explored Peru and the farm. This was November 2012, so this has been 3 years now. And the farm grew from 1,000 square meters to 10,000 square meters. And the 1,000 square meters are for the children's classroom and the food that they grow. The other 9,000 square meters, families in the area that don't have work will take care of the land. And 50% of what the families grow, they give to the school, and 50% of what they grow, they get to keep for their own families. And so you have a fully sustainable farm that's working down there in Peru. It's feeding these kids, and it's feeding families, and it's teaching them how to grow these new products, and live balanced and live a healthy, balanced life.
I think that's just really awesome.
Thank you.
So I have like 50 questions going on in my head one time. How is it that you decide which project it is that you want to get involved in or help out with? I mean, there's so many in the world, right? There's so many different things that are happening. Hunger, like domestic violence, slavery. I mean, like there's so many different things. How is it that you choose which one to align yourself with?
It's just whatever I'm inspired to do at the moment. We all have these thoughts and our visions come to our mind for a reason, and things that really inspire us in this life. And I think that's all for a reason. And, you know, when we went to the clinic in Costa Rica, me and my buddy, actually, my buddy was inspired to do the project. He had to actually enroll me into it. And then after I got into it, then I got inspired. But from his inspiration, you know, he got me into it. And then when I was in Peru, I just thought, you know, how cool would it be to build this farm for these kids and to feed kids for years to come, you know, and families. Like, that's really just such a cool thing to do. When we did the project in Ghana, like, I was like, man, I've never been to Africa. I really want to go. I'd like to build a well. I'd like to help people have clean water, or, you know, and so I go through a process though, like in Peru and Ghana, like I went through a process of interviewing charities, to make sure I had the right one. Cause I just didn't want to pick any random charity. I was actually talking to a charity in Central African Republic, and it was like the perfect charity, but the country just broke out in civil war, and they're like, we'd love to have you, but we're kind of in chaos right now. And so I was like, okay, so you had
dangers to come.
Yeah. And so like I had to go, you know, you go through a process. I think I interviewed like 20 charities when we did the Peru project before I picked the one with the tour guide's brother. Just happened to end up like that. And the same thing for Ghana. Like I'm specific on what I want, and kind of what I want to create. And I just want to make sure it's a win-win, you know, because there are a lot of charities out there. And there's a lot of different opinions about charities too, about what they're actually doing. So I want to make sure one that feels good with what I'm trying to create, and one that feels good having us come in, and it's really a win-win positive situation.
Yeah, I think that, so like I was watching TV the other day, and it was like this charity popped up on a commercial for elephants. And it was just like, you know, I mean, the thing is, I feel like a lot of people want to give and they want to get involved. They don't know how. They don't know, you know, how to go about it, what charity to trust, you know, those sorts of things. What kind of advice would you have for people who want to get involved, whether it's, you know, just giving money online because that's all they, you know, have time for, or actually getting involved physically?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, anybody that gets involved in that needs to do their research, you know, so they're making sure they're involved in a charity that's legit, because there's a lot of, sadly, there's some scammy charities out there.
Yeah.
And make sure that, like, I met the owners and you know, the CEOs of the charities that I worked with, and made sure that they were solid people before I got involved, you know, got references from them. You know, the people in Peru, and before I even decided to work with that charity, I asked people around the Sacred Valley in Peru about his reputation, to make sure that, you know, this was a solid guy. I don't want to do a fundraiser from a bunch of people that I'm connected with, and all of a sudden that just gets sucked up into some scam, you know. And
Yeah,
I want to keep my reputation solid too, that so in the future more people want to work with me, and more people are willing to give to any project that I put together. And yeah, so do your research, bottom line.
Nice. Okay. I think that's a fair answer. You don't know if people reading this question. Answer question. How do you know solid people?
Yeah, I think you can really, first off, intuitively, you can always really feel. There's a reason why they have speed dating, and there's a reason why they say, like, I did sales training before, and part of our sales training, one of the exercises was to find a stranger in the room, sit down, and eye gaze at them for 1.5 minutes. And then after you eye gaze with them, you write down everything you've learned about that person just by looking in their eyes. And you're blown away. It's like 75% on how correct you are. So like that intuitive feel that you have when you meet somebody, that's incredibly important. And I value that. And I make sure I value it, and I register it when I meet somebody, you know. Then the next thing is, then the next thing is get to know the person, and ask others about their reputation, about who they are. You can look today, these days, you can look everything up online, ask for referrals. But I think really the first thing is, like, when you meet somebody, you know whether you're going to gel with that person or not. And if you do, then you're like, then flow with it and meet that person more and more, and see if that's really a win-win situation for you both.
That's really interesting. This was like sales training, this eye contact thing.
Yeah, it's sales training.
I don't know if I would have been able to sit still for a minute and a half while someone's staring at me.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So let me ask you, we've talked about Peru and Costa Rica and of course Barcelona and Chiang Mai and all these different places. Why is it that you kind of prefer to like be constantly traveling and not, hang out in the States? I'm curious.
Well, I've traveled around the States a lot. Like, I guess I left in 2009. So that, I'm 35. So that was 29 years of exploring the U.S. And I got to see pretty much all of the U.S., or not all of it, but quite a bit of it. And there's this whole big world out there, it's like a big magical playground, and all these different cultures and all these different people and all these different languages and all these different food, all this different food. And, it's just like I said, there's always another adventure and always somewhere else to explore. And I love learning. And so when you go to another country, you're just soaking up the culture and you're learning constantly in a way that travel actually forces presence, because you're forced to be in the moment. And then that excites you. Yeah, that excites you. And it brings you to another level. But at the same time, like when you run a business online and travel, you have to balance like, okay, you need your time for productivity and actually sit down and work on your business. And so like now I do spend most of my time in Barcelona, but I'll take 3 to 4 months a year to travel around the world. The good thing about Barcelona is like you can do a weekend trip to Amsterdam or to London or to Dublin or to Morocco or to
terrible places to visit.
Exactly.
Who would be interested in that?
Yeah. And that's why I choose Barcelona now, because there's so much variety in a very close region there.
So with the Entrepreneur House, you are obviously around a lot of entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. What kind of common character traits do you see among entrepreneurs?
Really hard workers, really passionate about their businesses.
Yes.
Really, and they're really, for the most part, they're really solid people and legit people. The ones that I've spent time around, they're open. They're open to learn, and they're always learning. Like when we had our first house, we would sit there, and we had 2 apartments. We had a 5-bedroom apartment and a 4-bedroom apartment above the 5-bedroom. And we would sit there. There was 9 of us all together. We would sit there, and sometimes like somebody would say something that would spark conversation, and say it's like 11:30 at night. And we would roll off that conversation sometimes till like 3 or 4 in the morning, just because we were so inspired based off the conversations that we were having that sparked off like the original suggestion or conversation. And so people are really open to grow and to learn and to improve themselves and to help other people improve too. And yeah, I would say that's the main traits that I've seen.
You're bringing me back to Vietnam. It was like everywhere I would go if I was hanging out with fellow entrepreneurs, because for those who don't know me, I was in Vietnam for a year, around a very entrepreneurial group, an organization called Dynamite Circle that both Chris and I are part of. But it was like we'd go out to dinner, and dinner, starting at 8 o'clock would end up going till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning easily, mm-hmm. because someone would get talking about an idea or something that, like an issue that they're having, something that they're wanting to do differently. And it would just like, get the mind going. Nobody could leave and nobody could walk away from the table, because we were just enjoying it so much.
Yeah, and it's not always with alcohol either.
No. Definitely not. I think that, entrepreneurs, when you get around people, probably the number one character trait that I've noticed about entrepreneurs is their ability and like their non-issue with asking questions. and asking questions, no matter how silly they may seem or obvious or any of those things. It's like what you're saying, like they're just so hungry to learn that they are willing to just be unabashedly curious about someone else's business or how they did something or what's working or any of those things. Have you noticed that?
Absolutely, yeah. And like for me, from my perspective, I like to ask the big questions to people, even if I've just first met them, the ones that a lot of people are uncomfortable to ask, like beyond like what you do, but I'm like, what are you passionate about? Like, what do you really care about? Like, I don't care as much as what you do or what your job is. The questions I ask are like, tell me something that doesn't have to do with your work or your play or your work. And what are you passionate about? What are your hobbies? And even farther, like, what are your spiritual beliefs? What really makes you tick? Why do you do what you do? And totally, entrepreneurs are like that.
So you could do behind the brand too.
Yeah.
What'd you say, Kevin?
What's your favorite ice cream? Questions.
What's your favorite ice cream? Like, yeah.
Okay, should we do another random Anna Ask question? I think
Sure.
so. For you folks who are new, Anna Asks is completely up to you. So enter in a random question and we'll pick one and talk about it.
Okay, just type a random question.
In the meantime, oh, we've got one here actually. Where does it come from? Okay, is there a specific objective or goal you all are working on? And this comes from the American Dream. Chris, 1 minute. Go for it.
I'm growing. Well, I'm having 4 different houses in 4 different cities this year. The main,
just killing it.
Yeah, the main goal for me this year is to grow business. I want to grow business and get my business really get the Entrepreneur House to have a really solid foundation. We have a podcast that we're putting out. We have a Slack channel that we have, and to give it a good solid foundation so I can grow with it over time. Also to create more niche houses with the Entrepreneur House. So like community builders house or e-commerce house or a SaaS house or a social media house. And that way, people can come to Barcelona for a couple of weeks or Chiang Mai for a couple of weeks, and we just have high impact learning with super successful people in each of these niches, and have a really good time at the same time.
Let's go, KP.
The social media house would be all of us social media people just walking around like this, Snapchatting each other.
Especially if Ahna was there.
Oh, yeah. No. Wait. My alarm.
Yeah, get it out. Let's let go. For me, well, somebody asked favorite pizza toppings, and that's all I'm thinking about now, Ahna.
Look, we're just going to have to wait. We're just going to have to wait for that one. Go ahead.
All
what
right.
are you working on this year?
Okay, I can't talk about pizza. All right. Well, one unique goal I have and something I'm working on is now I was told I should change this phrase because I say I'm looking to touch 25 people a day through social media. But I get a lot of negative feedback when I say that online. But so to engage more with people and believing that the engaging leads to building those relationships, and the relationship leads to growing my business. And I want to put a number on that so that it's part of my day that I know I have to hit at least that. So whether it's a Facebook message, a direct Snapchat back to somebody, an Instagram reply to somebody, I have a goal to hit at least 25 people each day. Touch 25 people. Touched you all.
You touched me, Kevin.
Thank you. You touched me, Chris.
Oh, yay. I love the direction of this show.
When you give us, we take it.
It's okay. It's okay. Okay. My specific objective or goal that I'm working on this year. Oh, there's the alarm. Would be that I am working towards big time this year towards my ultimate life goal. which would be creating a program for teenage girls that will help them to, I haven't thought about this, so in terms of me pitching it, it's a little bit difficult. I want to create a program to help teenage girls. I feel like teenage women are very lost these days, and troubled teenage girls specifically. I was a troubled teenage child for sure. Didn't really have mentors, had a lot of pain, had a lot of heartache, didn't know where to turn, was quite frankly too smart for school, didn't know how to channel all of these things or be productive with it. And I think that there's a lot of women out there these days who are dealing with the same situations. And instead of really just getting the attention that they need and the right push that they need, they're just kind of, you know, considered to be troubled. So my minute's over, so I'm going to stop. Okay, Chris. So we are going to wrap up the show here in the next couple minutes. We're going to stay online, folks, so don't go anywhere. We'll have you jumping in to talk to Chris, ask him questions. But just to kind of wrap up for the podcast, where can people find you online?
TheEntrepreneurHouse.com. I also have a website that features a lot of the charity that I've done, the charity projects, called TheOneEffect.com, EFFECT. All spelled out, TheOneEffect. And then also for Facebook. We talked a little bit earlier. Facebook's my favorite social media channel, and so message me on Facebook, say hi, and I'll chat back with you.
Nice, nice. Okay, so just the last thing here. We already have, and I know that Kevin has been sharing this throughout the show. Thank you, Kevin. So next week's guest is going to be Miss Kara Parrish. This little lady is a powerhouse. I am super excited to introduce her to you all. She's an international consultant. She's done such a wide variety of things. I don't even know where to start. But here's a link. Go ahead and subscribe to the show for next week. As I did this week, I'll be pushing out a lot of content, introducing her to you, sharing her website information and just more about her, so you can be looking forward to this. Just to wrap up, if you miss this show, it will be on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. So you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, find it there. In addition, there's a podcast that is forthcoming. So make sure to keep your eyes out. Of course, I will promote it everywhere once that actually happens. So I just want to kind of close this out and say thank you so much to everyone who has tuned in today. We've had a packed house for a brand new show. I'm just blown away. Thank you so much for your time and for your engagement. And thank you again, Chris, for being our first and amazing guest.
Thank you for having me.
And Kevin, you are an awesome community manager. Thank you.